Do you trust your news stations? Well, neither do we. My name is Victoria Lewis, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Beyond Professional Investigation. The question of how to feed the world is becoming increasingly pressing with the pressures of a growing population, a narrowing supply of natural resources, and a changing climate. Scientists and researchers continue to disagree on a solution to feed the 9 billion people that are expected to inhabit the world by 2050. Half a world away, in rural India, we visit a diverse farming community where farmers are using a variety of agricultural practices. In India, farmers account for 60% of the population, but only contribute to 16% of the GDP, signaling a disproportionate distribution of wealth and a lack of overall production. With all its arable land currently being utilized, the Indian government seeks to increase productivity through subsidizing fertilizers and new technologies. However, many farmers are falling into debt because of heavy dependence on costly inputs, which many believe is the reason why one Indian farmer commits suicide every 35 minutes. As India rises as a world competitor with an average growth rate of 8.1% in the last 10 years, it will need to balance the role of agriculture as a commodity to be exchanged and as a means of feeding a country where 80% of its population live under the poverty level. As we examine this issue at a production level, we ask farmers what they're doing to feed 1.1 billion people.
This is Gotajlat, a typical rural farming community in Gujarat, India. In one part of the village, lower caste marginal farmers live, eking out a living on their small, marginal farms. By definition, these farms are less than 2 acres. Meanwhile, the higher caste families live in this part of the village. These 4 extended families all own at least 40 acres. Some families own 80 or even 100 acres. These are gentleman farmers, farming from the side of the fields, pausing to call their stockbrokers or check in at the rice mill.
I come in farm and visiting. Everybody labor what are doing.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, organic and sustainable farms plant many varieties of seeds resulting in polycultures and rotating crops to nourish the soil. What is the right answer? As we explore the effects of big farms, we inevitably encounter marginal and sustainable farms. Big farms are in the show, but for how long? Will their ecological, economic, and social effects prove too much for this country to handle?
Thanks, Catherine. Don't go too far while we take a quick commercial break. Namaste. What's your name?
Jeeman Bhai Patel.
Jeeman Bhai Patel.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Are you a farmer?
Yeah.
What if I told you I have a magic seed that could double your yields by 300%? Would you buy that seed?
I buy seed.
Our mission at Monsanto is to provide farmers with the best, most productive seeds on the market, feeding the world one seed at a time.
Monsanto BT Cotton, available now at your local distributor. For more information, call 1-800-GMO-4U. That is 1-800-GMO-4U. Victoria.
Now we're off to Edwin Pulaski, where he explores the environmental impacts of agriculture.
No needles in that haystack. Here in Gotajlat, we see prime examples of big farming practices that result in the degradation of our ever-so-precious environment. Over the years, these farmers have increased the amount of fertilizer used to attain the same yields while the soil gets depleted of its nutrients.
Is erosion that's leading to soil depletion and eventually to the point where the soils are no longer usable for agricultural purposes.
Excess fertilizer and pesticide is sprinkled throughout the fields because of the notion among farmers that more is better.
Are there any bad effects from fertilizer, or is it all good?
No, all good.
This has led to major problems like higher rates of cancer among farmers and the evolution of superpests.
We've been using pesticides for so long and developing resistance and then just changing to a different pesticide for so long that there's the potential to develop or evolve a pest that's resistant to all known pesticides.
That's right, a pest resistant to all chemicals. You know, Victoria, it's the farming techniques of the big and industrial farms that greatly contribute to their chemical dependency. Plants grown in monocultures with synthetic fertilizers are less productive and more prone to disease than those in polycultures that use natural fertilizer. India's biggest organic farmer explains that he has no trouble competing with the industrial farms.
My yields in anything is comparable to the chemical or even sometimes better.
Well, hello. These heroes in organic farming have gone back to nature by eliminating outside inputs and recreating the natural cycle of the world.
In case of India, we also depend on lot for fertilizer, chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticide inputs. But if we want to sustain, then we have to think again over the use of inputs which is available in the locally.
Some of these noble practices include using the manure of animals as fertilizer, rotating the crop sown on a piece of land, and the use of agroforestry and polyculture. Organic farms also eliminate the use of petrochemicals used in the production of fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. So now you may be wondering, how does this affect me, the urban dweller, the limousine liberal, the Republican? Isn't an onion just an onion? No. Crops sprayed with pesticides and herbicides are known to retain traces of carcinogenic chemicals that build up in our bodies. Also, plants grown in synthetically fertilized soils are less nourishing than ones grown in composted soil. So when you take into consideration the health of the agricultural ecosystem, the amount of fossil fuels being burned, and the health of our own human race, an onion isn't just an onion. Back to you, Victoria.
Thank you, Edwin. Now we talk to Gustavo Rodriguez, and he speaks to farmers who really know what it means to put your money where your mouth is.
Thank you, Victoria. Here I am standing next to a plot of wheat on a big farm in Gotaj Lot. As you can see, not much wheat is grown here. The farmers in Gotaj Lot don't sell wheat because grain products aren't profitable in India's market. Instead of creating a surplus to sell, they just eat the little they grow. There are three other main crops: rice, tobacco, and cotton. Rice is the least profitable per hectare and is grown solely because it can survive the monsoon floods. The other two crops are considered cash crops. These crops are grown almost all year round, and they are by far the most profitable. Here are some owners of big farms explaining why they have chosen to grow tobacco and cotton.
Tobacco get income.
We grow tobacco and cotton because we get a lot of money.
Here in Gotaj Lot, the farmers use urea fertilizer, and the government's subsidies take care of half the price.
So small farmer and marginal farmer are illiterate, unaware about the government subsidy programs and the other schemes of the government. That's why they are the last person to take advantage of the such program. So it is the thing India government should be think over that, so that the real benefit of the subsidy goes to the real needy person, which is the small farmer and marginal farmer.
Though 90% of Indian farmers are small and marginal, 70% of the production comes from big farms. One reason for such lopsided yields is that big farmers, like the ones here in Gotaj Lot, are able to purchase genetically modified seeds, such as BT cotton, from the multinational seed corporations like Monsanto and Cargill.
I have a lot of faith that it's going to happen within our lifetime because of the economic advantages to it and also sort of the inevitability of the costs of the inputs to green revolution approaches becoming greater and greater over the coming years. The overall trend is going to be towards sustainable agriculture.
Sustainable farming enables small farmers to match yields with genetically modified crops.
It may be led by the developing world. It will be such that countries that are short on hard currency just won't be able to have it as an option.
There you have it, folks. Back to you, Victoria.
Thanks, Gus. We've all heard about extreme poverty, women's oppression, and child labor. But in Gotaj Lot, these three issues are very much a reality. Now we turn to the equally handsome, well-dressed and articulate Gentilal Patel.
Thank you, Victoria. 40% of Indians are starving and hungry. 60% are farmers. How could such an agricultural powerhouse fail to meet the needs of its people? Let us dive deeper into the social impacts.
Impact 1. Unemployment or even death to farmers. Victoria perfectly mentioned that high inputs may lead to farmers' depression. This is how the petrochemical treadmill operates. When a farmer begins buying inputs, such as GMO seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides at a local distributor, he is metaphorically hopping onto the petrochemical treadmill. Year 1. The seeds are planted, the fertilizer is spread, and the pesticide is sprayed. Higher yields procure higher revenues for this year's harvest, fattening the farmer's wallet. And unfortunately, the treadmill begins to spin.
Impact 2. How religion and the caste system play into rural farms in India. Here. How are you? Fine. I am here in the Patel caste, who are manufacturers and farm owners. But I want to take a walk out to the Rajput caste so that we can see how the workers and the laborers experience life. Come with me. All of the farmers in this village are Hindu. Traditional Hindus believe that caste is predetermined by prior lives. As times have been changing, the castes have been blending together in cities.
So caste system is prevailing in the rural areas much more as compared to urban areas.
This is the lower caste, the Rajputs. They are the muscles for the big farms. They pick the cotton, trim the tobacco, plant rice paddy, and spray pesticides without mask, which is a common cause for cancer.
For an 8-hour workday, the laborers receive just $1, which when adjusted for PPP amounts to slightly above the 80% of the population that live below the $2 per day World Bank poverty level. Child labor laws demanding that workers are 18 or older are difficult to enforce in rural areas. In this village, we have observed several children, looking as young as 4 years old, working alongside their parents in the farms, kept home from school to help provide for their family.
Children, no. Only playing and enjoy.
I am here with my friends. Namaste. Namaste.
Hello. Impact 3. Gender roles. For the higher castes, women are arranged to marry, spending the rest of their lives as housewives. They do the cooking, the cleaning, the animal husbandry, such as milking these buffaloes, and all of the house chores, while the men look after their farms. Most of the upper caste village women attain a college degree, though never get the opportunity to exercise their knowledge outside of the home. In the lower caste, women help work in farms, as well as doing the low-impact work, such as planting rice, though for a lower wage than men receive. Most women bring in an independent income from milk they sell to co-ops. Though many villagers have assured our news team that Indian marriages are perfect, the telling statistic that 70% of women are unsafe in their own homes leads us to question that statement. Watch me as I milk this buffalo. Damn, I'm good with nipples.
Yes, you are, Gentile. This investigation has prompted many environmental, economic, and social issues relating to agriculture. In searching for answers, we must ask ourselves, what would Gandhi do? Next time on Thinking Beyond Professional Investigation, Healthcare in South Africa. That's it for today, folks. See you next time.